Hello, everyone. I'm Jesus, and welcome to the next episode of the Road to Old School MTG. I know on the last video I had mentioned that the next video will most likely be one of me already just talking about the playing experience since my deck was already complete, basically. But I've gotten a surprise which has made me want to record this quick in-between video. Well, actually, it may not be so quick because I keep saying it's quick, but then it doesn't end up being so quick. So I'll try not to say that. But basically what happened is the last video I recorded 2 days ago, thinking that my Chaos Orb, which was estimated to come in like 2 weeks, would take 2 weeks. It's here. And I don't want to wait to open this. This is a $700 card. So it's pretty, by far the most expensive card in the deck. The second most would be Savannah's. I have 4 of them though, but they range from what I paid $250 to $295, right? Depending on the condition and just the deal that I got. This one card is $700. So that changed my plans. So I want to open it up and add it to my deck, which I have here, right? So I'm just gonna take out one card. I'm gonna take out, just to keep in the spirit of the original inspiration that I got. I have put a strip mine in this deck to act as a bit of a substitute for the Chaos Orb, but now I actually have one. So I'll be taking that out and add this. In reality, I'll think about it more in terms of, what I actually take out. That's just initially, my estimation. But I may actually I could also go with taking out the one City of Brass, right? The original deck also had 3 only. I have 4 in here, right? So there's a couple of different ways that I could go with it. But it's not, what I take one or the other is not the biggest deal. The biggest deal is just that I add this to my deck, right? A Chaos Orb. This is a collector's edition. I got it for $700 and it's listed as near mint. So I'm gonna open it up. I don't have the listing of the card that I bought this for because that was the only one, and then I think the web page just disappears once the card is not available, right? Nothing shows anything. So I guess I'll just show my email that I got, that just states, I've made this purchase. I don't know if it will state the details of, I'm kind of like looking at it right now. Yeah, it's actually not very detailed. It doesn't even have the price of the card. But honestly, if you research, 700 is a cheap price, at least at the moment, right? Depends when you're watching this. So that's going to be the goal for today. Open that up, and actually, second goal would be, I have my playmat that I purchased. That was also estimated to come in a few more days, but it came yesterday, right? And then today I got the card, the Chaos Orb. So I figured this would be a good time to talk about those 2 things. And also, lastly, since all this is related to playing, I also mentioned in the last video that I would make a video about just how I plan to set up my webcams and things like that. Just what's my setup going to be like. So I have it set up kind of like how I anticipate I'm going to use it during my playing of webcam games. Most likely that's how it is, webcams, right? Especially with COVID right now. I'm looking for in-person games, right? But then you have to be careful with that. And honestly, they're not available at the moment. So webcam is the way to do it now for old school Magic. And since I have experience as a teacher and with COVID teaching online, lessons almost the full year last year, right? Or at least for a big chunk of the year. So that just gave me a lot of experience with just webcams, lighting, different software. So I wanted to mention, talk about that video, and actually also do a bit of a mock up game where I have my setup already set up. Now I'm going to add my Chaos Orb, and then kind of like, draw, use the deck, I guess an imaginary opponent, just also to test out, the angle of the camera, if, everything is visible, just talk about those little things that's, you would think you just get the deck and start playing, right? But, and I guess, a lot, you could do it that way, right? Me, maybe I'm just over analyzing things. Like, I would say that is a trait of mine. But I think a lot of you would get some benefit from me being more specific in terms of detailing all these things, additional things, as I see them, as I think about them, and as I see that there might be not only an interest, but a benefit to you all knowing about this. All right, so first, let me just see if I can get the, okay, so I do have, I guess I'll start with that, the email. Wait. I need to hide certain things just to save on privacy issues, things like that. Okay, let me just. Okay. So here's my email that I mentioned. And so here states okay. So Chaos Orb from TCG Player. So that's now a different website, I believe. I think I used a different one. Card Kingdom, I believe, for my unlimited IC manipulator. Other than that, every other card I got from eBay, but now this is another card from a different source, and this is the most expensive one. So, and honestly, I've been looking for Savannahs and IC manipulators and those other sources also. Just it's more readily available through eBay. You're more likely to see it there, at least, and get a better deal. But this one I got a pretty good deal. I was comparing it to eBay, comparing to other websites, and this seemed like a good deal. And I had waited a couple of days on it, and then just as I thought about it more and more, and as I was seeing prices now fluctuated, noticing this was the price, at least at the moment, seemed pretty good, I decided to get it. So Chaos Orb, $700 was the $699.99 with like $2 shipping, and then with taxes it ended up being almost $750. And then here you see within 12-15 days arriving. So that's what made me think that I would have to wait quite a bit before I got the card, but it came up, of course, a lot sooner. It only took like 4-5 days from when I bought it to now me receiving it. It was pretty fast, actually. So that made me reaccess the timetable that I had originally mentioned in the last video. All right, so a note on TCG Player that's, from my understanding, is basically just people. It's like a marketplace. Individual people and companies post their cards for sale, and then you just buy it, and then I guess TCG Player gets a commission or something, right? I'm not too sure. I'm just the buyer. That's what the sellers have to deal with. Me, I'm just the buyer. But that's what it seemed like. I saw different company names, and then some of them have a picture of the card. Some of it didn't. In this one particular case, this company did not have a picture of the Chaos Orb itself. So I'm taking a bit of a gamble, but the good thing is that it said it was near mint. So near mint is basically universally accepted as unplayed, right? Or else you have the light played, right? I guess you could technically have play with it and it's still kind of near mint if if you played it but you were super careful with it and nothing happened and it's still in pristine, near pristine shape, right? So it's possible. Just because you play something with something doesn't mean you automatically already damaged it, right? It could still look brand new, right? So, but you know, you have a better understanding of what near mint is, right? So of course I'm going to open the package and then just confirm. Hopefully, you know, my guess proves correct. But that's what I was willing to make that that bit of a leap there, because I feel with the wording of near mint, that is more, I'm more likely to expect something and get what I expect to get out of it. Okay, and then once I open it up, of course, in this case, I can't compare it to any listings, right? Because there was no pictures, but I do have my, just to add that straight into the deck and then start using it, like I was mentioning. And then before that, I'll show my setup and everything. But let's get to it. So honestly, this is a $700 card. I got in cards that were like 20, 30 bucks, maybe even cheaper, that have better packaging than this. So honestly, it's a bit disappointing. But honestly, this is also, you know, kind of like the expected. Although it is $700, so I think maybe they could have done more. But in the end, I just cared that the card got to me fine. And I don't see any bends on the packaging itself. Like, it seems I can feel the top loader inside. So let's go for it. So it has the receipt inside. So envelope with padded envelope, just the receipt, and then the card itself. So it has some kind of a plastic wrapper on from the outside, I guess, to keep the card from slipping out from the top loader, as opposed to just putting tape, right? Most of the time I just saw people put tape over it. So I do like this extra effort there. So I haven't even looked at the front yet, right? Ooh, that looks pretty. I was just looking at the back, which this seems definitely near mint. So far my gamble is paying off. So I want to examine it more with the wrapper on. This is a penny sleeve inside the top loader. Ooh, this looks beautiful. Yeah. So no, I don't see any markings. Like, yeah, it is near mint, definitely. So, you know what to expect when something's near mint. When something's light played, excellent. That's still subjective, right? So somebody's light play, maybe somebody else's played, right? This seems, yeah, mint. I see maybe a tiny nick there, but honestly, just because it may have tiny imperfections doesn't mean that's how it very well could have come from the pack like that, right? Especially from my understanding, this was printed in 1993 perhaps, or at most 94, right? So it still fits within 93, 94 time frame. So this is a very old card, no matter how you slice it. Looks beautiful. So maybe a little thing there, but seems like it's on the surface. Yeah, I can buff that out, I think, but that's nitpicking. So I'm just, letting the light hit from different angles. Right, so this one has the gold back, plus it has the squared corners, right? That's what makes it, quote unquote, not a legal card, because it's marked, right? So you can tell this card is this card that you're going to draw because of the different color border, different card edges. But nobody, like I said before, nobody plays without their cards being in some kind of a card sleeve anyway, right? So those days are finished, especially in old school. Actually, I have another camera which is on my on a different angle here. So let me see. I was using that other one before. Let's see if it can work this time also, just to get a better. Right, so actually, let's see if I can do this. There we go. Now it looks better, right? Because I switched the mirroring. I think that's what it's called. But yeah, the card is in pristine condition. I believe this is never played. Looks great. All right, so I am happy I got what I paid for. Very, very, very happy. So putting this, being very, very careful with this, especially with the corners, right? So what a lot of people used to do back in the days is, okay, so I mean, this one's going to be tricky to input to place because of the edges. It's just you gotta now fit it in basically perfect the first time. The around the edges just give you a little wiggle room to turn the card as you're fitting it in. So I think I have to just place it on a level field. Okay, there you go. But yeah, it was harder to put this one in the wrapper. So this I've been told this is a perfect fit sleeve, right? That's the term. So I put it from the top going down. So the top is sealed, and now as I put it into this one, the other way. So now it has it's sealed on all corners. Good. All right, and now I got some little dirt or something on the sleeve, which for a second made it look like my card got damaged and I was gonna have a heart attack. But it's fine. So it looks great. So let me do that other angle here. Is it backwards? Oh no, still good now. So very, very happy with it. So I'm adding that Chaos Orb into my deck. So putting it around the middle, whatever. But let me now take out, while I keep talking, let me take out I should have taken it out ahead of time. Take out the strip mine. Oh, there we are. So strip mine could definitely still end up either back if I decide to take something else out. So I'm taking it out for now, out of the deck. Or it could also be a sideboard card. We'll see, right? So, but basically, it's fine for me to have that card on the side, depending. I could still get use out of it. All right, so now that that's out of the way, and I said I'm happy with it. So to reiterate the issues with collector's edition, they are not tournament legal because of the different card back color, right, of the borders, gold, and also probably especially because of the squared corners, right? So it's basically marked as in you can tell what card you're going to draw as before you even draw it, right? And then you can manipulate your draw because of that, because you can, if you need to shuffle your deck, you can set it up so that you get it sooner, right? Because you know what it is basically. But honestly, that does not seem like in today's playing environment, everybody puts card sleeves on, whether it's a vintage, old school Magic, or standard. That's just common practice. And in addition, Magic has now made double face cards, right, where there's basically a front card face on both sides, right? I think those cards that have that ability. So the werewolf cards I remember, right? So from recent sets. So Magic itself has already broken that rule that having a card that has a different card back is no longer makes it not qualified as illegal, right? So, and of course, yeah, okay, maybe it has also this one has the corners, right? But still, you can still tell what it is. The point of it is that you can tell what card you're going to draw. So that means you have to play with these. This is now standard practice, putting cards in this. So, so to me, it seems like that rule is antiquated. Of course, this is old school. But it seems like I'm kind of estimating that that rule will not be part of just Magic in general anymore. But at the very minimum, currently it is hardly enforced, right? So people have collector's edition cards in their decks in old school all the time, right? So as long as it has the reprint policy, right? So Swedish, you have to have only Alpha Beta Unlimited and then the 4 Horseman sets. But Atlantic Central, Atlantic and Eternal Central, they allow the other ones, the reprint, right? Which collector's edition qualifies as. So just kind of, explaining my reasoning for this card, because of course it's very expensive. That $700 card is almost the same price as this deck without the Savannas, and then if I take out one Icy Manipulator. So if I take out 5 cards, that one card is the same as the other 54. So it's, I'm taking, I don't know if I would say a risk, right? But it's, it could, depending on what I'm going to play against, what format, I could hit some snags having gone this route. But I prefer to get a card that's in better condition as opposed to getting a unlimited Chaos Orb, right? It's only in Alpha Beta Unlimited. You can't get it in revice. So even though that is always unlimited, is always legal, I would have gotten a very beat up card for 700. Honestly, I don't even think I could get it even for 700, even if it's very beat up. So I just, for me, I just thought this was, I prefer to see a nicer looking card, and I don't care too much that it's not quote unquote legal, right? So I'm not planning to, I can't possibly play in Swedish anyway, right? So that's out of the question anyway. So hopefully that it doesn't even impact at all, which I don't think it might anyway. All right, so enough about that. So now let me talk about my setup here, my camera setup, my computer setup. Well, not so much my monitor setup, just how I have my my Zoom setup for the online games that I'm gonna be doing. So let me switch to my right. So here's my tablet. This is the Irion software that I downloaded to the tablet, and then that makes it so that it's visible on my. It connects to my computer, and then from there on, I can choose it within Zoom as one of the camera options. So that's what I'm gonna do now to show you my setup, because all the other cameras, webcams are stationary, right? They're put in place. Okay, so let's see. Okay, there we go. Right, so currently that's how I have the 2 webcams that I'm going to be using. So the one with the light there, that's the one facing me that you guys were seeing me on. And then this other one that you see pointing down, that's going to be pointing down at my desk and my mat, which is going to be right there. I got the playmat with the old school Black Lotus design on it. So pretty cool. It's basically just a giant mouse pad. That's how it feels like. All right, so I have that set up. And right, so within Zoom, I'm gonna be able to control the which camera I choose and so on. So the reason why this was convenient for me is because I basically already had this from the very beginning. This camera here that's facing, it's gonna be facing the desktop. I've had that, well, it's on a stand, right? But I've dropped the stand so that it's at that height and then now hitting the angle towards the desk. But normally I had the stand all the way up, because on this other side, I have my electronic drum set. So so I'm a musician, a music teacher. And then when I did online lessons for drums, I would use this camera for students to be able to see me explaining things on the drums. Right, so I already had that already. All I did is just turn the stand so that now the camera is going to face the opposite side, and then I just dropped it so it was very easy setup for me to do. And of course, I have this tablet here, which is an option depending if I want to do something else. But basically, that's going to be my setup that I'm going to be using. Okay, so now and just so you know, here's another camera. That one's facing my keyboard, right? So for when I had keyboard lessons, right? So, you know, all these things I've already had set up. But honestly, it's not like super hard or anything, right? So you just get webcams, just get stands, and then the main thing I think is more just learning the software, learning the program, you know, figuring out the angle that you want things at, you know, so that's more, right? But once you get an act for it, you know, you can set things up as you wish. So that's going to be my setup. And now I'm going to basically use it. I'm going to imitate a game of Magic using this camera. So let's say, right, I'm joining the game. I would use this camera, say hi to my opponent. But once it's time to play, I would change it to this angle camera. Okay, right? So currently this is my angle. So once my mouse, I would take it out of the way once I start playing. So here's just my phone. I downloaded just random Magic Life Counter app, right? You can use whatever you want. So like this camera is a fisheye lens, so it has a bit of a curve to it, right? So this actually, right, rectangle, but it, you know, has a bit of a curve, but it doesn't seem to be any drawback to it. Other people have angles in different ways, right? So, and I angled the camera in a way so that I flipped it so that my opponent would see my cards face up, right? So if I was to play like this, they basically see that same card, you know, in a face up manner, right? As opposed to, you know, upside down like this. Okay, all right, so here's where I would put my decks, right? So now I'm just gonna imitate the game. Since I added my Chaos Orb to this 60 card deck, let's see if I even draw it, right? 1 out of 60 cards, very unlikely. I'm still in the research phase. I'm about to finish the research phase. The last set I need to learn about from old school 1994 is Falling Emperors, right? So I'm learning, just going over through those cards, and then I'm gonna research more of videos from old school decks, you know, the deck list and, you know, how they play, and then maybe videos of matches, right? Which Timmy the Sorcerer has a lot of great videos, and I've been watching quite a bit from that. So I've also been reading that either breaking your deck up into 3 or even 6 piles. 3 is standard. 4, 5, 6, right? And then the opponent chooses what goes where, right? So let's say I have it like that. Boom. And I believe who's first, second, or third is based off luck, right? So either somebody flips a coin, something like that, and then you know who's first, and then whose first turn it is, and then so on. Let me just check. I'm recording still. Okay. All right. So I'm going to draw my 7 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Right. So everything's pretty visible. So I've been doing this a lot. I just play testing, just with myself, just seeing what I draw and things like that, and how I would play the game, against an imaginary opponent. And this is something I've already done in general, right? Not just with old school, just in Magic in general. I like to do this. I think this deck, it benefits because of the land tax. It benefits it being second, going second after the opponent. So let's say your opponent drops a land, of course, and then they do whatever they do. On your turn, first turn, drop a land, cast a land tax. Now on your opponent's second turn, if he doesn't destroy that land tax, he has a big decision to make. Either he drops another land, and then that will trigger my land tax on my turn, will make me draw 3 basic lands plus my regular draw step, or it makes him not play a second land so that my land tax doesn't trigger, right? So either way, either one of those scenarios benefits me, right? So in general, that's what I'm trying. I'm thinking of doing, right? Whether I can actually volunteer to go second, or you always have to flip a coin. I'm still not unsure about those rules. If I had a choice, I would always choose to go second. Right, but if it's always through a flip of a coin, which I think it is, then hopefully lands makes me go second. Right, so here I would put my hand on the side so my opponent can see me opening up my hand, kinda, right? So unless I drop my hands really low, then you will not see my, what I have, right? So decent hand. Unfortunately, I don't have. So just so you guys know, this is what I drew: 2 planes, Soul Ring, Icy, Birds, Armageddon, and Sarah Angel, right? So here the cards are pretty clear. So if I was to play them, I think it's pretty visible. So I'm imagining, like I said, I went second. So I will be drawing a card. So if I do draw a card, I would, if it's a force, I would play that Birds of Paradise first. Let's see. Nope. So I have, in general, it would have been a good, if one of these planes was a force, or that Icy was a force, then it would have been, I would say, maybe like an ideal hand actually. So, but I could still cast drop that, Soul Ring, opponent goes next. So then I would draw mine. So I still don't have that green mana that I need. So we'll see if I can get any. So in this case, I can do a second turn Icy Manipulate, right? So that's pretty handy, right? So as I'm playing, I'm also looking at the screen of the recording just to see, how things look so far. All my stuff looks very visible, right? And it's, like I said, it's right side up. So hopefully makes the opponent happy to, just easier to understand the context of what I'm doing. All right, so that's drop short. So even though maybe I didn't start to the best starts, this could definitely give me a little control. Either I tap some lands of theirs during their upkeep so they don't have it available in their main phase, or if they already drop a threat, which is definitely possible in old school, I could be tapping it so that buys me more time. All right, so let's say I untap. Can I get a green? Ooh, I did draw my Chaos Orb. So I have been looking into if I can actually use a proxy to actually, if I were to cast it, to flip that instead. I'm pretty sure that's not allowed. I'm sure you can ask, and then on a case-by-case basis, maybe like your opponent would, wouldn't care. Like somebody asked me that, I wouldn't care. But in general, from my understanding, no, you have to actually flip the actual Chaos Orb. So that's pretty cool. I drew it. So then it's one of those cases. Do I need to kill something? So definitely could have, right? So let's say, and I have no more lands, right? So there's really not much to do. Right now, it's just more about just controlling the game and letting myself have more turns to do what I want, right? So honestly, I need 1 land, then I could drop a Sarah Angel. If I get a green, then that gives me a bit more options. So let's say I tap that, Chaos Orb, 1 mana, right? I would do the flip. I'm not going to do it now. but then I could cast, make it do the effect, and then it still gives me 1 mana to still have a little control over either their lands or their attack. So let's say I used it and I destroyed a threat, whatever it is that it was. Good. All right. So I'm drawing a bit of so actually that's beneficial. I could still do a Sarah Angel next turn, even if I don't get any other mana source. Of course, I could also land tax, right? I think I've had that land tax since. Actually, now that I think of it, did I draw it or I had it from the beginning? Well, either way, right? So I could have definitely, since I've had only 2 lands, my opponent is very likely to have dropped more. So maybe that's the play to do. Tap that, land tax, tap this, get a Forward Stone, set myself up for when I'm gonna Armageddon, because I definitely could now also, right? Because it'll get rid of my planes, my color mana, but I have colorless. It still makes it easier for me to come back, and of course I got my land tax. So actually, I could Armageddon. Actually, after I first land tax, right, because he has more cards than me, I would have cards in hand, lands in hand. Then I would Armageddon, and I have already lands in hand to drop, right? So that's just a sample here, and also right, pretty cool that I drew this. But it was just an example of how a game would go, right? Look, it's almost half the cards I drew were artifacts. So, but that was definitely a mana weak hand there, play. All right, but it happens. Mulligan rule in old school, either you draw all lands, you get a free mulligan, I believe is free, or you draw, so either all lands, right, or no lands, then you also get a free mulligan. And I believe this is right. Once again, I'm gonna, as I play, I will be, I will get educated on those things. From what I've seen, that's the rule, and people stick with it. All right, so let's try another one. But I'm liking the angle of the camera. Actually, I didn't play anything with this, so I'm gonna imagine I'm using that as well, because that's right more. Of course, that's actually how a real game would go. All right, so a little shuffling there, shuffling there. So I'm shuffling the cards here, right? Like this. They're not splitting at the edges or anything, right? But I'm not doing it super aggressive either. I'm just letting them naturally fit in between each other, and just push it back in. But so far the quality has been good. There's nothing has tore up or even frayed a little bit. Everything's still perfectly intact. All right, so, and also I think the rule is whoever won goes second, right? That's been traditional from what I know. Right, so this thing, it seems like either dividing your deck into 3 or 6, or just some, a lot of things to, just to make it more randomized. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So now let's imagine I get one first, right? So let's see if I have a land tax this time. No? Okay, but I do have City of Brass, so I should have one of each and then a city. So 3, 6, oops, I forgot to draw one. Ooh, land tax. So, but like I said, once again, since I'm going first, right, it'd be harder for me to actually get use out of that land tax, at least until I Armageddon, right? Then something else could happen. But it's still a good first turn. It still makes them think, makes them alter their game plan a bit. Plus, I have nothing else to play on first turn. So let's say I lost, I go first. Tap, land tax, untap, second turn, right? So Icy Manipulator. I have a little bit of ramp, not too much though. So tap, tap, Forward Stone, right? The cards seem very visible, right? I'll play around with the lighting, right? So I think I could maybe drop the lighting, and I could still get, actually, maybe I do that right now. Let's see, because it's right here. Is it? So that's too low. I don't know if that's any better. Yeah. So I may have to play around with it, or because I can, because of my area, I can't really just move things around. It's already set up this way. Yeah, I guess it's good enough for my needs. So I'm not inclined to change things up unless it was something simple to do. All right, so that drops that, or I could also Winter Orb, but it's still the second turn, so who knows? So let's say I got pinged here, I got my, right? And then definitely as I play that City of Brass, I'll need to keep that on track. And then I got another one, so definitely gotta watch out. So I'll drop this. I could Winter Orb, or I could Icy Manipulator. The nice thing about Icy Manipulator, according to old school rules, you tap your Winter Orb at the end of the opponent's turn, everything untaps, because the tapping an artifact turns it off. So the effect no longer applies. So everything still gets untapped during my untap. But once it's untapped, then its effect takes place again. So that'd be fun for you guys to see. 4, I took a hit from the City of Brass, Icy Manipulator, right? And then the opponent doesn't know what I'm doing yet, right? Or maybe he might, right? Honestly, these 3 are already pretty decent clue what my game plan is. Swords, right? So that's good. Just a little control, buys me more time. So now, most likely than not, right? The opponent would have done something. So their lands maybe very well be maxed out. Tap, tap. Winter Orb, right? And then depending if they have a big creature out, I might be inclined to tap that to buy myself more time. But I'll more likely than not just at the end of their turn tap my own Winter Orb. My turn. I untap everything and keep it going, right? So another 4. So now I would think about playing actual lands, right? Because I have 4. Maybe I will play one more if I need for a Sarah Angel, right? But if not, I keep it at 4. Just planning for when I would drop an Armageddon. So, all right. So I think it went pretty well. The setup is pretty nice. I really like this, having this background as I play. I think it just adds a nicer element to it, right? So, really brings it home everything, right? Because or else it just be a black, kind of like what you see here at the edge, just be totally black, right? All right. I think the cards are pretty decently visible. I might still wiggle around with the camera a bit, just play around with the 100, with the angle. This may not be 100%, but I would say it's like 95%. This is how it's going to look by the time I start playing. All right. But I think, in general, it's a good setup. It gives me space for everything. Here's my life total here. Maybe I could even set this up like this. Maybe, right? Just maybe gives me a little bit more room there, depending, how long the game runs, because right, the opponent is most likely keeping track of his own life, so I just need to see my own. Honestly, if I had a little room here, all the way by the side, before I had the camera a bit more taller up, so you could see more the whole desktop, even the side here, and then I had my phone by the side there. But then, the higher you go, then the cards are less visible, right? I guess you could still, know what it is, right? But I think this is a decent angle. It's far enough that you get a full access to the full playmat, full, vision of the whole playmat, and you can still tell what cards it is, right? But it's definitely a bit far away to actually read the text on the cards. Maybe if I got a better camera, right? But I'm just doing things with what I have, right? I'd rather spend my money on cards than even more setup stuff. But honestly, I think this is a nice setup. Like I said, the angle is nice, and this is basically how I would be playing my game. So I'm pretty excited to start that aspect of it, right? So then I will bring my mouse here to close out the game, put it to the other camera that's facing towards me. All right, so other than the two Moxes, now just two cards, basically every card in here is the same as the original deck list that I got this inspiration from. So one alteration, one change I did was that, well, two, right? The two Moxes, I put two Birds of Paradise. But then I took out a Felwar Stone, and since I have four Cities of Brass, and I wanted to have, right now the deck has 19 card lands. With the strip mine, it would have had 20, right? So it had 20. Now I dropped it one less. So, it just seemed like I was going low on lands, right? So I took a Felwar Stone so I could keep my fourth City of Brass. But as I've been doing mock games, I've been getting two Cities of Brass at the same time, and then that becomes very problematic because it affects your life total a lot. So I may drop it back down to 3 and either put the Felwar Stone back or maybe just put the strip mine back, right? So, a little wiggle room here and there with how the last, the final result will be, right? And honestly, as I play games, maybe that will be deciding it for me, right? As I play, I notice, okay, I do prefer that strip mine in there, or right, or I think I'm getting two Cities of Brass too often, and I'm either losing games or I'm cutting it close because of that. But I can't know that until game time starts, right? So I will commit to this being the final video because I haven't bought any new cards. I don't anticipate buying anything else because the only other cards are two Moxes, right? And then that's out of the question at the moment. But honestly, other than that, I'm extremely satisfied with this deck. I made it even way more stronger and, of course, more expensive than I had initially thought. Initially, this deck was going to be below $1,000 deck. And it was already reaching 1,000 basically. But then that was without the Savannas, without the Chaos Orb, without the Moxes, right? So now I added Savannas, basically came out to 1,200 extra for those 4 cards, with the fees and shipping. And then now I've added for 700 plus, 750 with all fees and stuff. I've added a Chaos Orb. So this deck here has gone from being sub 1,000 to now this is basically a $3,000 deck. Right. So, and I haven't even played one game yet. So a lot bigger investment than I had thought. But as I thought about it more and more, I figured it was a better investment. Honestly, even from the monetary side. That's Chaos Orb, like I said, that's from, I think collector's edition was printed in 1993. If I'm not mistaken, it's before revised even. Or even if it's after revised, it's still, within the first 2 years of the game's creation. So those cards are very old, right? They're very close to being as old as Alpha Beta Unlimited, right? So I'm speculating a little bit, but honestly, collector's edition value has been going up and up all the time. All right, so I've been researching that. So speculating a little bit, that's my collector's edition cards that I would get, right? Because I don't anticipate me buying unlimited Power 9 stuff. If I do go that route, I would go through collector's edition. But that's not just me doing that. A lot of people are doing that. So that's why collector's edition cards are going up and up, right? There's just so many Alpha Beta Unlimited to go around. So finding other methods, having official cards, right? So even though it may not be tournament legal, nonetheless, collector's edition are still official Wizards of the Coast products, right? They printed it, so it's still, it's part of the game. So from that side of it, seemed like a good investment. Plus, also just investment in terms of me playing. Basically, a Chaos Orb is one of those staples that you have in any deck. Any deck that has a Chaos Orb, you put it in there. Kind of like the Moxes. Even if you're playing a deck that of different colors, you still have a Mox of a different color in your deck, right? Unless your deck list is so tight that you can't fit it. But most often than not, you probably drop a basic land for that, because, right, it ramps you up for free, right? So you can't, unless you do some kind of effect, you can't play 2 lands at the same turn. But you can play a land in a Mox. So even if it gives you colorless, right? So it's kind of like almost like a Flower Stone, right? So, but even better, Flower Stone, if your opponent has no lands, this doesn't produce any mana, right? So this is very, it could be have a big drawback, right? Kind of like the Ernam Jin, depending on the situation, its drawback may be big. This is also, depending on the situation, this may be a big drawback. But that's what's, the deck list that I got this from had. And other than Moxes, I think that's the next best thing, because there's mana vaults, stuff like that, but even though they ramp you up fast, they cost mana to untap them again, right? So I was thinking about replacing the Pharaoh Stones with mana vaults, maybe stuff like that. But then, like I said, if the plan is to blow up my own lands, everybody's lands, and then because of my ramp, I could come back from it faster, or because of land taxes, I could come back from that faster. Then it's, I have to consider those things in my decisions as I play and as I buy things. All right, so I think this was pretty nice in terms of, just getting a feel for how it's going to be once I play a real game. And like I said, I commit to now, my next video will be either I will have a video recording of me playing those games and analyze the video, or, all depends on, if my opponent is comfortable, letting me do those things, or at the minimum, just talking about, how my games went, and, just giving a play-by-play of what happened and how I did. So, either way, you'll know what happened in terms of me starting gaming, right? Because at the end, that's the point of this, right? So to go into gaming and playing this, and so now that part of it, I've reached the point of me investing anymore in this. Now is the playing that's gonna come, right? So that'll be next. Once I have those things, I will post up the next video. But thank you so much for watching it up to here. I hope it's been enjoyable for you just to see me getting up to this point, setting all this up. Just, the discussions about, how it took to get all this. Other than the basic lands, I bought everything else in this deck, from not just the cards, but the sleeves, the playmats, right? All those tiny little things extra, right? So you really saw the full process of what it takes to be an old school Magic player. So I appreciate you for having seen all the episodes, even if you didn't, maybe not all of them, part of them, whatever. As long as you came along for the journey, I appreciate that. So now the next part of the journey will be coming up soon, and stay tuned for that. Thank you.